Chosen one, please listen very carefully to my words. For the past 90 days, you have walked through a time that felt like absolute hell, and you thought you were being punished. You thought God had forgotten your name. You thought that the calling for you might just be your own delusion. But all those thoughts were wrong. God has not forgotten you. He was testing you while in disguise. All those nightmares you survived, they were a test. All the people who left you, that too was a test. All the doors that slammed shut right before your eyes, these were God's tests, watching to see if you would give up or not. And now, there is something I really want to tell you. You have passed. You didn't just pass, you received a perfect score on every test, including those you didn't even know you were taking. Your presence here today is by no means a coincidence. The Holy Spirit has personally guided you to this message. This is because today is your graduation day. Your file has just been opened in heaven. I mean that very file with your name on it. It is the file that has been filled with your grades for the past 90 days, even though you could not see it. Now I will show you exactly which test you passed, how you passed it, and what you have just opened by passing it. But first, let me ask you one thing. Do you feel a suffocating tightness in your chest right now? That heavy house that has consistently weighed down your shoulders for the past 3 months. Try focusing your consciousness on it. Do not place your hands on it. Just pay attention. Feel how heavy it is. Because in the next few minutes you will feel that weight completely lifted off, as if someone has broken the invisible chains that you did not even know were burying you. Now there is something you must know. At 2 a.m., when you were breaking down and thinking you had failed, when you thought you were not strong enough, when you thought you might have misheard God's voice, He was with you in that room. He was taking notes and recording everything. It is not to condemn you, but to grade you. And the grades have just come out. God has had a secret file about you. It has been there all along. Inside that file is your divine report card, and I am about to open it. But before that, you must know that this is different from the kind of exams you took in school. You were not given instructions. You were not even told when the exam would start. You didn't even know that you were being evaluated. That is precisely what makes this a real exam. Because God does not grade answers you have practiced. He grades your raw reactions that come out when you think no one is watching. If your spirit is already confirming these words, agree to this message right now. If you feel a change taking place in your body, like this video and leave a comment saying "I passed" to activate this full post that will be downloaded into your spirit. Because, O chosen one, what I am about to show you will completely rewrite the last 3 months of your life. This is what you need to know. God did not give you just a single trial. He gave you trials of various categories. Multiple trials were taking place simultaneously. That is why you felt as if you were drowning and struggling. That is why you could not breathe. Ordinary people are tested in only one area at a time, but the chosen undergo a process of deepening. These are trials in the form of layers of camouflage, which you might think are an attack by the enemy. However, God was actually using those attacks as your final test. Before I tell you about all the categories of trials, I want you to understand why God disguised them. If you had known you were taking a test, you would have acted. You would have pretended to be holy, put on a church-appropriate expression, and offered the right prayers. But God did not need your acting. He wanted to see your true character, your true self that appears when the camera is off and the heavens seem to be silent. That is why the camouflage was necessary. It was to see how you behave when you think there is no one grading you, in order to break through your defenses. And, O chosen one, the way he saw you made him smile even when you could not see it yourself. Let me show you the first category. The first test is the test of isolation. But this was not the kind of isolation you might think it was. It was not a test of being locked up alone in a room. It was a test of being alone in a crowd. It was a test of having to stand in the very spot where you had been standing for months, perhaps years, and watch as everyone else received answers and enjoyed blessings. Do you remember that feeling? The feeling of opening your phone and seeing the congratulations of others, their new jobs, restored relationships, financial miracles. You were still praying the prayer you had 400 days ago, and you were still believing and waiting for what everyone else had already received. But it was not just on the surface. That was the very first test. This is what God was watching. Nevertheless, will you congratulate them? Will you continue to worship even when your own worship feels as though it has dried up? Will you remain deeply rooted in the house of God even when leaving seems easier? Listen to me, the chosen one. Every time you congratulated others, even when your own heart was breaking, God recorded it. It was a perfect score. Every time you went out to serve when you should have been served, every time you said amen to another's testimony while still waiting, every time you stayed in the community even when isolation felt safer, it was proof that you were passing the test. You did not know, but heaven knew. The Bible speaks of this in 1 Kings chapter 19. Elijah had just called fire down from heaven. He had just witnessed God destroying 450 false prophets. He had seen the greatest miracle of his ministry. And what happened? He ended up isolated in the hall of a cave, begging God to kill him. After his greatest victory, he hit rock bottom. And there is a fact most people miss. God did not rebuke him for being in the cave. God met him there. He did not appear in the earthquake or in the fire, but came down in a still, small voice, in a gentle breeze. This is because isolation following victory is part of the pattern for the chosen. It is not a punishment, but a preparation process. The Hebrew phrase used there for still, small voice refers to a soft, calm voice that can only be heard when everything else is silent. You cannot hear a whisper in a crowd. Isolation is necessary to hear it. That was the meaning of your past 90 days. God was emptying the room so that you could finally hear that whisper you had been missing. So that you could hear the instructions that come only in silence. And you pass that test every day. Instead of complaining, you chose to listen every day. Instead of demanding, God, where on earth are you? You said, God, I am still here. Even though it would have been easier to give up, you woke up every morning still holding on to faith. Heaven was watching, recording, and grading. And your score was perfect. But that was merely the first category. Let me show you the second trial, the trial of delay. Everything you had prayed for was blocked, as if a delivery had been delayed somewhere between heaven and earth. You could feel it. You knew it was yours, but it did not arrive. Do you remember that specific feeling? That thought was already waiting for you before you even fully opened your eyes in the morning. Nothing today. Your heart sank, not because you were hungry, but because of that distinctive nausea that comes only when hope is continuously delayed. That feeling when you have believed for so long that faith itself begins to become a pain. Let me explain exactly how it happened. You checked your bank account, but nothing had changed. You checked your email, but there was no reply. You looked at your phone, but there was no message from the person you had been praying to. And every time you checked, it was like slowly drinking poison. This was because each not yet added weight to your life, day by day. Another not yet was added to the 24 hours. And there were thoughts you could not voice. Did I hear wrong? Did I become convinced that this promise was mine when it was meant for someone else? Did God change His mind about me? Such thoughts began to appear around day 30, grew larger around day 60, and by day 90 they were screaming inside your head. But here is what God was actually testing. God was not testing your patience. Everyone thinks that the test of delay is about patience. It is not. God was testing whether you would continue to move forward even when progress was not in sight. He was testing whether you would continue to plant seeds even when the water was not visible. He was testing whether you would continue to worship even when the answer was delayed. This is because most people do this. When delay comes, they stop. They stop praying because they feel it is meaningless. They stop serving because they are too exhausted. Holding on to hope is so painful that they stop believing. They simply enter survival or maintenance mode, waiting only for God to finally appear. But you continued to move forward, even when you felt like you were about to collapse from exhaustion. Perhaps you couldn't pray as long as before. Perhaps your praise wasn't as loud as it used to be. Perhaps you felt your faith had weakened. But you continued to move forward. That is exactly what God was looking for. Not perfect faith, but a persistent faith that appears even while limping. There is an overall pattern regarding this in the Bible. Sabbath verse 3 says, "Still wait, though it may be long, it will surely come without delay." Read it again. It will never be delayed. However, it just said it would be slow. How can it be slow yet not delayed? Because, according to God's timetable, it is precisely timed. It may feel like a delay to you, but to Him it is perfect timing. And this is the pattern. Abraham waited 25 years to have Isaac. Joseph waited 13 years from his dream to its fulfillment. Moses waited 40 years in the wilderness before leading others. David was anointed king at the age of 15, but he ascended the throne only when he was 30. Jesus waited 30 years before beginning his public ministry. Paul spent 3 years in Arabia after his conversion before preaching the gospel. Do you see the formula? The duration of the delay is proportional to the magnitude of the mission. The longer the wait, the greater the mission entrusted to you. Your 90 days were not because God had forgotten you. It was because God was preparing something tremendous for you. Something so great that, had He given it to you earlier, you would not have been able to handle it and would have been destroyed. And during that time of delay, every single day you remained faithful, you were passing a test. Every morning you still woke up, every prayer you still whispered, every step you still took, God recorded it all. It was pass, pass, and pass again. Now before I show you the remaining trials, there is one thing I must say. If you leave this video now, you will miss the most important part. The isolation and procrastination I just showed you are just 2 offenses. There are more, much more than you think. And one of them is passing a trial without even knowing it existed. It is the very trial that hell fought hardest to make you fail. Listen to me until I reveal all the trials. I will show you exactly what you gained by passing them. And then I will do something I have never done before. I will proclaim a prayer of sealing upon you to scientifically confirm your victory so that the enemy can never take it back. This is not an ordinary prayer. This is a ritual of activation. If you miss this, you will leave having gained only knowledge without receiving the spiritual whole. So please do not turn off the video yet. Your breakthrough is within this video. Confirmation for you is within this message. And your next step awaits on the other side of what I am about to reveal. Now, let me show you what is coming. The third trial is the trial of betrayal. Someone close to you turned their back on you. It was someone you trusted. And God was watching your reaction rather than their actions. I will show you exactly what God saw in you and why that allowed you to pass as an honor student. Next is the fourth trial. It is a trial that almost no one passes. It is the trial you took in the dead of night when you thought you were completely alone. The trial that would have made you lose your qualification if you had spoken aloud. But for you, it became proof of your authenticity. And there is a twist. I told you that there are categories of trials for you. However, what I have not mentioned is that there were layers upon layers of trials hidden within those tests. The tests you took while half asleep, the evaluations that occurred in your subconscious, and the enemy has struggled to erase the evidence that you passed them. But today, that evidence is revealed. You must see the whole thing, not just a part of it. Because when you look at the full report card, when you see every test to which you received a perfect score, it will stir something up within your spirit. It will drive out the lie that you barely survived. It will destroy the voice that says you are unworthy. And it will activate the authority you have just gained. So please stay with me. I will now show you the categories of trials from the 3rd to the 7th. And I will show you the hidden trials from the 8th to the 13th and tell you what you have opened by passing through all of these. Finally, I will perform a sealing prayer to make this a study. But I have not told you everything yet. This is because there is something I have left out regarding the trial of delay. Something about the way you went through it revealed the secret of your calling. It is related to a specific moment. You know it too. That night, you almost gave up. The night, according to all logical calculations, when you should have naturally quit. But you did not quit. And that night, that specific night, was actually the most important test of the entire 90 days. I will explain why in a moment. But first, I will show you the third test involving betrayal. And I will tell you the shocking truth God told me about the person who hurt you. The third test, betrayal. And regarding the person who betrayed you, I am going to tell you one thing. This might anger you before it sets you free. You know exactly who I am talking about. Now, try saying their names in your mind. Do not push them away. Feel the reaction in your body when you think of them. The tightening of your throat, the burning sensation in your eyes, that specific kind of wound that can only come from someone close to you. God saw all of that, scene by scene. Let's go back to that exact moment you were in a place you thought was safe, whether it was a car or a room. You received a message, answered a phone call, or, worse, walked right in and witnessed the scene with your own two eyes. And they spat those words out. It's not what you think. But it was exactly what you thought it was. Your hands grew cold. Your heart sank so fast that you felt like throwing up. And you sat there frozen, trying to process in your head how the person you trusted could do this. Here is the raw thought you never voiced aloud. You thought, I must be the problem. If I were enough, if I were better, if I were different, they wouldn't have done this. You turned their betrayal into your own failure. That is what betrayal does. It not only hurts you, but also makes you doubt yourself. But this is what God was watching. He was not grading them. He was grading you. In particular, He watched what you did for 72 hours after the betrayal occurred. This is because your true character is revealed not in the very moment of shock, but in the aftermath. It is when you were given time to plan revenge, time to expose them, and time to thoroughly destroy them just as they had brought you down. Chosen one, you had every right to burn it all down. Legal rights, moral rights, and even human rights. But you did not do so. Perhaps you wanted to. Perhaps you wrote and deleted messages 47 times. Perhaps you practiced conversations in your head hundreds of times that told you exactly how terrible they were. But you did not send. You did not speak. You did not execute. Do you know what you did instead? You cried. You prayed. You asked God why. And you performed the most unsexual act. You let them go. It may not have been perfect. It may not have been immediate. But in the end, you let it go. You chose to forgive even when they did not ask for forgiveness. Even when they did not admit to what they had done, you forgave them in the spiritual realm first, before they were qualified to receive forgiveness in reality. And God recorded that as a perfect score. This is because the third test was not about betrayal. It was about your reaction to betrayal. Will you harbor bitterness or become a better person? Will you close the door of your heart or keep it open? Will you trust in God's justice or execute justice with your own hands? You chose to become better. You chose to open your heart. You chose God's justice. You passed. The Bible speaks about this in Psalm 41, verse 9. My close friend, whom I trusted and with whom I shared my bread, has lifted up his heel against me. Do you know who wrote this seed? It was David. And who was the one who betrayed him? It was Ahithophel. It was his counselor, the advisor he trusted, the one who ate with him at his table. And the Hebrew word batashi, meaning to trust, signifies lying down completely defenseless. It means becoming so weak and vulnerable that one cannot defend oneself. That is exactly what you did. You trusted someone with your complete vulnerability. You allowed them to approach your deepest unarmored self. You showed them your weakness, and they used that access to wound you. It was not your fault. That was the third test. And the fact that you trusted despite everything. The fact that you remained vulnerable despite everything. The fact that you did not build a wall of your heart even after they left. That is the reason you passed. But now, there is something I must tell you. And you may not be ready to hear it. The three tests I just told you about: isolation, delay, and betrayal. They were merely to prepare you for what I am about to say. It is because I was not completely honest with you. I said there were categories of trials. I said that God was grading you. But I did not tell you the total number. And I did not speak of the trial that almost no one passes. The trial that occurs in the darkest moments, the very trial that feels like a complete failure. The truth is this: there were not just 3 trials. There were 10. And there were 3 more hidden beneath those 10. A total of 13. And the 4th trial. This trial I am about to show you is the very reason why hell fought so fiercely against you. Because if you pass this, you have crossed the point of no return. It is because you are crossing into a dimension that the enemy cannot touch. The 4th trial. I call this the trial of spiritual surrender, the trial of spiritual suicide. Let me clarify before you panic. I am not talking about ending your physical life. It is in a spiritual sense. God was watching to see whether you would give up your calling or your mission. You watched to see whether you would give up the belief that you were chosen or the hope that all of this had some meaning. And, O chosen one, you almost gave up. You yourself must know this well. There was a specific night. You will remember what kind of night it was. Do not lie to yourself about it. That night when you said out loud, "I can't do this anymore." That night when you told God, "This is as far as I go, it is over." That night when you looked back on everything you had believed in and said, "Maybe I made all of this up." Maybe I wasn't chosen. Maybe I'm just lost in a delusion. You were in a place where no one could see you, in your room, in your car, or in the restroom at work. And you broke down. You didn't just cry, you collapsed, shattered into pieces, and broke apart. It was a breakdown so deep that not even a sound could be heard. It was a state where your body simply trembled violently because your soul could no longer bear the weight. And the thought that came to you then was this: what would happen if I just stopped? What if I stopped trying, stopped believing, stopped fighting, just let it all go and lived an ordinary life? Let's just let someone else be the chosen one. I never agreed to go through this terrible pain. And for about 47 seconds, that thought felt like salvation, like rest. It felt like permission to finally finish the race I had been running with a broken leg. There is a fact you do not know. That very moment, that exact moment, was the most important test throughout the entire 90 days. This is because God was not testing whether you could never have the thought of giving up. God was testing what you would do when standing at the edge of a cliff. Would you jump, or would you take a step back? O chosen one, you were at the edge. Your toes were sticking out of the cliff. One more step and you would fall into a state of complete spiritual surrender, a total severance from your calling. And you remained there for what felt like an eternity. Then, miraculously, you stepped back. You did not jump. You stepped back. Perhaps you whispered, "God, I simply cannot do this. But if you still want me, I will still be here." Perhaps you said, "I cannot understand any of this at all, but I will not give up." Perhaps you simply wept and said nothing. But your spirit said, "Just one more day, let's hold on one more day." That was the very moment you passed the fourth test. And God recorded it as an extra point. This is because you passed a test that brings most people down. The test that destroys most missionaries before their mission even begins. The test that separates the called from the chosen. Do you know why this is important? The Apostle Paul speaks of exactly this same situation in 2 Corinthians 1, verses 8 through 9. He says, "We were under such severe pressure that we despaired of life itself. We felt as though we had received a death sentence." Did you hear? Paul, the man who wrote half of the New Testament, said that he had lost even the hope of living. He wanted to die. He admitted this in his epistles. Look at the pattern. In 1 Kings 19, verse 4, Elijah asked God to kill him. In Jonah 4, verse 3, Jonah asked God to take his life. In Numbers 11:15, Moses pleaded with God to kill him immediately. These were all God's chosen ones. And without exception, not a single one of them reached the point of surrender, the point of spiritual suicide, before a breakthrough opened. So, when you reached that point, when you thought of giving up, when you despaired of your calling, you were not failing the test. You were entering that pattern, the exact same pattern that all the great chosen ones in history have walked. And the fact that you are still here means that you have passed the test. You have passed the fourth test. It is a perfect score. Now I will show you the fifth, sixth, and seventh trials. This is why you felt as though you were drowning. These three trials occurred simultaneously. While you were dealing with isolation, terrain, and betrayal, these three were running in the background, layering upon each other to evaluate you at the same time. The fifth trial is the trial of supply. You checked your bank account. You did the calculations. There was simply no answer. The amount on the bills was greater than your income. Needs were greater than supply. Logic told you that you could not endure it. Yet you paid the bills. Nevertheless, you made an offering. You chose to trust that God would provide, even when the numbers said it was impossible. Every time you chose faith over logic regarding finances, God recorded it as a pass. The sixth trial is the trial of silence. You prayed, but the sky felt like a concrete wall. There was no warmth, no soft whispers, no sign that anyone was listening. Just silence. Empty, cold, and terrible silence. Nevertheless, you continued to pray. You went to the place of prayer even when it felt like you were talking to a wall. You continued to worship even when you felt no emotion. That was not a failure. It was faith. Pure, raw, and unwavering faith. The kind of faith that requires no feelings to keep moving forward. Perfect score. The seventh test is the test of identity. You looked in the mirror, but you could not recognize yourself. Everything you thought was you had vanished. Your former confidence was stripped away, your former convictions were shattered, and your former identity had died. And you had to rebuild yourself from a state of nothingness. You had to redefine who you were without the things that used to define you. And in the process of that reconstruction, you said, I am still the chosen one. Even when I cannot feel it, even when I cannot see it, even when nothing in my life reflects it, I am still the chosen one. Pass. Job 23:10 says, He knows the way that I take. When He has tested me, I shall come forth like breath. Here, the Hebrew word maze, baba, meaning to test or refine, refers to the process of testing whether metal is pure or fake. They heat the metal with fire until all the fakes burn away. What remains is only genuine pure gold. Your past 90 days were fire. You emerged as pure gold. But this is not the end. I said there were 10 trials, but I lied once again. There were 3 more trials hidden so deeply that you do not even remember having undergone them. This is because they occurred while you were asleep and unconscious, while your consciousness was merely struggling to survive. The 11th trial is the trial of dreams. You had a terrible nightmare where everything you feared became reality. It was a dream where you lost everything, God forsaken you, and the enemy triumphed. You woke up gasping for breath, your heart beating wildly at 140 beats per minute, and your bed sheets soaked in sweat. And this is what God watched over you. What did you do when you woke up? Did you sink into the mire of fear, or did you pray? O chosen one! You prayed even in your sleep when you lost your sense of direction, and even while trembling with fear. You whispered, "That isn't real. God is still good. I am still protected." You pass. The 12th test. It is the test of the unconscious. When you are so exhausted that you move unconsciously as if autopilot were switched on, when you drive but cannot remember the route, when you shower without a thought, and when you simply exist as if you do not exist in the present, where did your heart turn? Was it worry? Or was it worship? The shocking truth is this: you worried less than you think. Even when you weren't trying, your default mode was humming praises softly. It was whispering Bible verses you didn't even know you had memorized. It was praying without having resolved to pray. Your unconscious was aligned with God. That is not luck. That is your character. You get a perfect score. The 13th test is the test of secret generosity. Someone needed something. You had almost nothing, yet you gave. You didn't post it on social media, didn't tell anyone, and didn't even consider it a test. You simply saw the need and met it. You gave your last $20. You made time that you didn't even have. You encouraged others when you needed encouragement yourself. And you did it quietly, without anyone knowing. There was no audience, no applause, only you and God. And He saw it, recorded it, and gave you the highest score. Jeremiah 17:10 says, I, the Lord, examine the heart and test the stomach. I reward each according to his conduct and his deeds. God does not test only your actions in front of people. He tests your actions when no one is watching. Your private moments played a more significant role than your public moments. And in your private moments, which you thought no one could see, you continued to constantly choose the right thing. Now, let me set them up. Past isolation, past support, past betrayal, past point of resignation, past supply, past silence, past identity, past dreams, past unconscious, past secret tolerance. That makes 10. And there are 3 more hidden tests. A total of 13. 13 perfect scores. You did not merely barely survive 90 days. You completely overwhelmed the 13 tests that most people fail in the first week. And right now, you must understand what this means. Because passing a test is not just about the score. It is about what you have unlocked, what you have opened. When you pass one test, you gain one blessing. When you pass 13 tests simultaneously, you do not gain 13 blessings. You gain exponential blessings. You gain the authority to enter dimensions that were previously inaccessible. You gain power that you did not have 91 days ago. You receive a mission for which you were not qualified 3 months ago. However, there is a question that no one asks. Exactly what have you opened? What door has just opened? What authority has been activated? How has something that was impossible then become possible for you now? That is exactly what I am about to show you. Once you see what you have just gained access to, you will understand why the enemy has been so persistent in his efforts to fight you. The enemy was not trying to block your present, he was trying to block your future. The very future you have just unlocked by passing through all those trials. There are 5 things you have opened. The third of them will make you weep. The first thing opened is authority. Not the kind of authority you seek out, but authority given from above. God has just spoken to you, and my spirit has heard it. You have now gained the authority to command the mountains. Not metaphorical mountains, but actual obstacles. Command those financial mountains. Rebuke the mountain of that relationship. Speak directly to the mountain of that health. Then it will move. It is not because you are special. It is because you have passed the tests that prove you are qualified to possess that level of authority. In Luke 10:19, Jesus says to his disciples, "I have given you authority to trample on snakes and to over all the power of the enemy." However, note when he said this, he gave it to them after they had proven their faithfulness, after they had gone out to minister and returned to report, and after they had undergone testing in the field. Authority is not given before a test. It comes after passing the test. Moses received the staff that turned into a snake only after spending 40 years in the wilderness. David was anointed only after killing Goliath. The disciples received power only after they remained by the Lord's side to the end, even in the face of teaching so difficult that all of them were about to leave Jesus. You obtain authority after you have proven that you will not abuse it. And, O chosen one, you have constantly proven this over the past 90 days. That authority is now activated. The second thing that is opened is spiritual discernment. This may feel a bit strange at first. You can now feel the spiritual currents in the room shifting. That heaviness felt around certain people. It is no longer mere anxiety. It is your new spiritual sensor. You have been upgraded to detect things you could not sense before. When someone lies, you will know it intuitively deep down before your reason even realizes it. When a situation is the trick of an evil spirit, you will know it before the reason is explained. When God is at work, you will feel it before the evidence is visible. This is not paranoia. It is the activation of spiritual gifts. Your spirit has become much sharper and more sensitive. At first, you may feel overwhelmed by feeling everything. But do not turn it off. Do not try to become numb. That is your new spiritual navigation. Trust it. The third thing that is opened is something that will completely break your heart. It is the abundant grace of God. The doors that have been firmly locked for 90 days will swing wide open without you pushing. The opportunities you stopped praying for, weary of clinging to hope, they will come unexpectedly, even though you were not invited. People who ignored you will contact you without any explanation. Why? Because you have passed the test of whether you can handle the broken doors. God does not give open doors to those who crumble when the doors are damaged. Before granting you the authority to enter the throne room, God had to first verify whether you could worship even in the waiting room. You have proven that you can handle it even in the face of broken doors. Now God can entrust the wide open doors to you. And when those doors begin to open, you will wake up so quickly that you think you are dreaming. No, you are simply finally receiving what you have been qualified to wait for all along. The fourth thing that is opened is the acceleration of the response, accelerated timing. Everything the enemy delayed for 90 days will overwhelm you in this compressed time. Things that would have taken years will happen in weeks. Relationships that would have taken months to restore will be reconciled overnight. Finances that would have required a long season to recover will suddenly pour in. Healing that would have taken place gradually will happen instantly. This is because God not only restores what you have already reached, but also accelerates it to make up for the time that was delayed. And the fifth thing that has opened up is prophetic clarity. You will now begin to know things that were impossible to know logically. Dreams that hold meaning, thoughts that are actually God speaking to you, intuitions that reveal themselves as warnings. You have been upgraded from a level where you wished God would speak to you to a level where you expect God to speak clearly. And He will speak clearly, specifically, and without a doubt. But there is something you need to know. These 5 keys are not theory. They are working right now. You do nothing to turn them on. It was already activated the moment you passed the 13th test. Your task is to manage and use them. Do not let them sleep. For the next 7 days, you must speak out loud toward a single mountain. Call the mountain's name. Command it to move. And watch what happens. This is not pride. It is testing your new authority. And when that mountain moves, you will know that this spiritual upgrade is real. However, there is something I must address now. This story may be uncomfortable, but if I do not say this, the enemy will exploit it to steal everything you have just gained. In a corner of your mind, there is a fear of the fact that you have passed. It may sound crazy, but it is true. You desperately wanted to hear that you had passed. You needed this confirmation. But now that you have actually received the confirmation, a quiet but clear voice in your head says, "What if I cannot handle what comes next? What if the next stage completely breaks me down? What if I am not truly ready to handle the blessings these keys will bring?" And here's a truly dark thought that you will never voice aloud. Are you ready? Perhaps I found the times of suffering more comfortable. At least I knew how to handle pain. It was, in a way, familiar. But success, blessings, open doors. I don't know how to handle those things. What if I mess it up? Do you feel your chest tightening right now? It is not a prick. It is the fear of success. And this is much more common than you might think. Most people who pass a major test immediately hinder themselves and ruin it. This is because pain is more comfortable than victory. Let me be specific. Over the next 21 days, you will be tempted to engage in actions that create pain again. Picking a fight with someone you were getting along well with, making a bad decision that will bring you back to destitution, or reopening a wound that was healing. Why is that? This is because if you are in pain, you do not have to bear the responsibility that comes with blessings. Pain is a comfort zone. It gives you a pacing back, telling you, "I can't move forward because I'm busy solving this problem." However, when that problem disappears, the door opens and blessings descend right here and now. You must actually walk through that door. And that is a terrifying prospect. Therefore, your subconscious will try to recreate the familiar pain. If you do not realize this pattern, you will do so without even knowing it. You will ruin the blessings in order to return to pain, because pain feels like home. But, chosen one, there is something you must hear. Fear of the mental stage is not a lack of faith. It is proof that you are ready. Let me say it again. To fear success means that you believe it is actually coming. Those who are unprepared do not fear success. This is because they do not even think it is possible. But you know that it is coming. You can feel it. That is why you are afraid. Your fear is preparation. Your spirit is preparing itself for something you have never handled before. Yes, it is heavy. Yes, it is unfamiliar. Yes, it is uncomfortable. But that discomfort is not a red light. It is a green light. Moses felt the same thing. This is Exodus 3, verses 11 to 12. God appeared in the midst of the burning bush and gave Moses the greatest mission of his life. And what was Moses' answer? Who am I to go to Pharaoh? To translate, it was, I am not ready. I am not worthy. I will fail. Even after witnessing the miracle, seeing the burning bush, and hearing God's voice directly, he still doubted. And there is a truly amazing fact. God did not rebuke him. He did not call him faithless. He simply said, I will surely be with you. He said, that is all. He did not take away the fear. He did not make it easy. He simply promised to be with you, and that was enough. Fear of what comes next does not disqualify you. Rather, it confirms that you are on the right track. In Judges 6:15, Gideon doubted. In Jeremiah 1 verse 6, Jeremiah doubted. All the great chosen ones in the Bible felt, I am not ready, when God said, the time has come. Just because you feel that way does not mean you are broken. It is a perfectly normal reaction to your calling. So when that fear comes, it will surely come. Do not blame yourself. Do not call it a lack of faith. Just admit it. Say it out loud. God, I am afraid of the blessing. It is okay. Just as the Lord was with me in my suffering, He will be with me in my success. And whether you are afraid or not, whether you are ready or not, be at ease. Whether it is difficult or uncomfortable, keep moving forward, for blessings are approaching. Whether you feel ready or not, the door is opening. Whether you are convinced or not, the next step is here. Whether you are afraid or not, you will walk in there. Even if you stand there with fear, now in your heart, picture the blessing you have been praying for so long. Look clearly at that very blessing that makes you afraid because you desire it so desperately. And now, say this not with your lips but with your spirit. I accept it. Even though I am afraid, even though I do not know how to handle it, even though it feels too big, I accept it. Say it again in your heart. I accept it. One more time. I accept it. Good. The covenant with fear has just been broken. You can fear and accept at the same time. These two can coexist. And they will coexist for the next season. But fear can no longer block the blessing. You have just taken power over it. Now, what you need to know is, yes, you have. You have opened up authority, discernment, God's protection, accelerated timing, and prophetic clarity. You have faced the fear of success. You have stepped back from the temptation to self-destruct. But, O chosen one, there is something I have not yet told you. The enemy has seen you pass all the trials, and he will never simply let you walk into his blessings without a fight. He has tactics, specific attack scenarios to execute against you over the next 40 days. If you do not know in advance what is coming, he will steal back everything you have just gained. I will now show you his exact plan, the 7 forms of attack he will use within the next 40 days, his timetable, and, most importantly, how to block all those attacks before he even moves. For passing the trials does not mean the war is over. The war has merely moved the battlefield, the enemy's playbook. The 7 specific forms of attack he will unleash over the next 40 days are as follows. And I will show you the exact details so that you can recognize them immediately when they come. I will give you a timetable. The first form of attack is a sudden restriction. Within the next 7 days, you will receive an opportunity that seems perfect. It could be financial, a job offer, a business deal, or a new connection that suddenly appears. And the timing will look absolutely perfect. On the surface, it will look just like an answered prayer, except for just one thing. It will cause you to deviate from your designated path just a tiny, imperceptible amount. How can you recognize it? You will feel pressure to make a quick decision. They will say, "This offer ends tomorrow." You must decide now. If you don't, someone else will. That pressure is the very warning sign. There is no countdown timer on the door that God opens, only on the enemy's door. When God opens a door, He gives you peace and time to pray. When the enemy throws out faith, he drives you to the brink so that you do not have time to discern. How do you overcome this attack? No matter how urgent it may seem, postpone all major decisions for at least 72 hours. Tell them you need about 3 days to pray about this. If it comes from God, it will still be there after 72 hours. If it comes from the enemy, the offer will evaporate the moment you apply the test of time. If they cannot wait 72 hours, that is the correct answer. Turn away. The second form of attack is the temptation to past addictions. Something you left behind will whisper to you. The person you cut ties with, the habit you broke, the substance you let go of, that toxic pattern you were finally freed from, it will appear in your mind and say, "You passed so many trials, so you deserve a reward. You endured so well. You worked so hard. It's okay, just this once. You deserve this much." This is the enemy taking advantage of your victory. This lie is very cunning. God does not care if you celebrate a breakthrough with the very problem you were just saved from. They say you won't. How can you tell? It will feel like nostalgia, not temptation. It won't feel dangerous. It will feel like returning home, like reuniting with the past. That is proof of the touch. How do you win? The moment that thought arises, say it out loud. I did not endure the 90-day trial to return to a past that nearly destroyed me. It is dead. I will not bring it back. To life. Say it out loud. Your voice holds authority over your thoughts. The whisper will stop when you declare. The third form of attack is the disruption of human relationships. Within the next 14 days, someone close to you will pick a fight over a trivial matter for no reason, and it will snowball in an instant. They will utter words they have never said before and perform actions they have never shown. You will be confused because everything was perfect just yesterday. This is a spiritual attack. It is the enemy using that person to distract you at the very moment you are about to move on to the next stage. It is. How can you recognize it? The intensity of the fight will be abnormally large compared to the size of the problem. They will explode over things that would normally be no issue, and no matter how rationally you try to converse, they will rarely calm down. That is not their true nature. Something is manipulating them. How do you win? Do not get drawn in. Really, do not defend yourself. Do not make excuses. Do not fight back. Just say this: I see what is happening here. I will not join this fight. Let's talk when you are ready to have a rational conversation. And leave the scene. Get away from the place, whether physically or mentally. The attack stops when you refuse to pour oil on the embers. The fourth form of attack is false conviction. You will receive messages that sound like they are from God, but are actually not. It could come through a dream, a prophecy from someone, or a message you stumbled upon on social media. And it sounds spiritual, it sounds biblical, and it is something you absolutely must hear. It will sound like words. However, it will contradict what God has already said to you. Or it will grant permission for something you know you must not do. How can you tell? It will make you feel relieved rather than challenged. True words from God often cause us discomfort before giving us peace. On the other hand, false words provide immediate comfort because they tell you what your flesh wants to hear. How do you overcome this? Verify everything by comparing it to what God has already said. If a new message contradicts the previous one, the new message is fake. God does not change his mind while carrying out his mission. The fifth form of attack is the attack of extreme fatigue. About 20 days from now, you will hit a wall of immense fatigue that you have never experienced before. You will be tired when you wake up, tired when you go to bed, and tired all day long. You will find it completely incomprehensible, even though you are sleeping enough, eating well, and doing everything properly. This will cause you to give up right before the finish line. It is spiritual lethargy designed to be. How can you recognize it? Ordinary rest will not solve it. Even if you sleep for 8 hours and wake up, you will feel as if you haven't slept at all. This is proof that it is not a physical battle, but a spiritual one. How do you win? Do not try to escape through rest. Breakthrough through worship. Pick up praise and move your body even when you feel like doing nothing. Extreme fatigue breaks through when you break through it and praise. It may sound contradictory, but the enemy's attacks crumble under worship, not rest. The sixth form of attack is the repetition of isolation. The enemy will try to reenact the test of isolation. People will suddenly become busy. Appointments will be canceled. You will feel as though everyone has vanished again. And this temptation will come. It's starting again. I'm back to square one. No, you are not back to square one. This is not the same isolation as before. It is merely a trick the enemy is using to make you believe you are undergoing a test you have already passed. How can you recognize it? It will feel familiar. It is. It is as if you have been here before, like a trivial matter. This is because you have experienced it before. However, this time you are not being tested. You are being attacked. These two are different. Tests are given by God to promote you, but attacks are carried out by the enemy to bring you down. How do you win? Declare this out loud. I have already passed the test of isolation. This is merely a midday echo. It has no power over me. I will not be fooled by the same trick twice. And the seventh form of attack strikes even harder at premature celebration. You will see early signs of a breakthrough, small victories, slightly open doors, hints of impending blessings. And you will be tempted to celebrate as if it were the complete answer. You will want to tell everyone, exalt him, and proclaim complete victory. And the enemy wants you to do exactly that. Because when you celebrate prematurely, you let go of the tension that would lead you to complete victory. How can you recognize it? You will feel a strong urge to announce it to the world before it is fully revealed. Capture? You will feel the urge to post and share it. That impulse is a warning. How can you overcome it? Receive it with gratitude, but keep it quietly until it is fully accomplished. Give thanks to God, but do not spread the word yet. A hasty proclamation invites a premature attack. Wait until the blessing is completely in your hands. Then, celebrate greatly. 1 Peter 5 verse 8 says, "Your adversary the devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." Here, the Greek word for walks about is peripateo. Peripateo means to walk in a circle, to persistently and stealthily follow, and to wait for the opportune moment. And there's an important fact that people miss. Peter wrote this letter to believers who had just overcome persecution. The enemy's real attack did not come during their suffering. It came after their victory. The enemy waited for them to pass the trial, and then he unleashed the real attack. That is exactly where you are right now. You have passed the trial. Now it is the turn for the counterattack. If you are not prepared, he will attack everything you have just revealed. He will steal it. But you are ready. That is because I have just given you his playbook. You know his 7 tactics. You know the timetable. You know the defense. He can no longer surprise you. Right now, you might be thinking, will this really work? Will knowing the playbook really help? Let me tell you the story of someone who also challenged you quite a bit. I will call him Lecture. It is not his real name, but it is a true story. 90 days ago, he was in the exact same position you are in now. He found out that he had just passed 13 tests he didn't even know he was taking. He had just opened the gates of authority, discernment, and God's protection. He heard about the 7 forms of attack coming and applied everything I told you. And this happened. On the 91st day, he received a job offer that seemed perfect. The salary was double, the rank was raised, and all the conditions he had prayed for were met. However, there was pressure to sign the contract by that day. He remembered the first attack, the sudden offer. He said, "I need 12 hours to pray." He spoke. The HR manager said, "We cannot wait that long." He refused and turned away. 3 days later, he learned that the company was about to file for bankruptcy. If he had started that job, he would have been laid off en masse within 2 months. He avoided the trap. On the 98th day, he received a message from his ex-lover, who had hurt his feelings. They only chose to say pleasant things. "I've changed. I miss you. I made a mistake." For a moment, he was swayed by nostalgia. But then came the second attack. He remembered the temptation to revert to his past addiction. He said out loud, "I didn't endure these 90 days just to return to the past that destroyed me." He blocked the number. 2 weeks later, he discovered that his ex-lover was doing the same thing to 3 other people. He avoided the trap. On the 98th day, his best friend picked a fight with him for no reason, nitpicking over a trivial matter and yelling. He tried to defend himself and fight back, but then remembered the third attack, the chaos in human relationships. "I see what's going on. "I won't join this fight," he said, and walked away. It happened. 6 hours later, that friend called, crying, "I don't know why I did that. I wasn't in my right mind. I preserved the relationship because he didn't take the bait." Day 112. He was struck by extreme fatigue. He couldn't even get out of bed. He was exhausted even after searching for 10 hours. The fifth attack. He remembered the attack of extreme fatigue. He put on some worship music. He started moving and singing. In 20 minutes, the fog cleared. His energy returned gradually and immediately. That's when he realized it wasn't physical fatigue, but a spiritual battle. Day 12. He received a small bonus, the first sign of a financial breakthrough. It wasn't a full blessing, but a hint. He wanted to capture his bank account and post it on social media or in a group chat. The seventh attack. He remembered the trap of premature celebration. He kept his mouth shut and only gave thanks to God in secret. 3 weeks later, a complete financial blessing, 10 times greater than that bonus, poured down. Only then did he rejoice publicly. It was perfect timing. By the 150th day, his life had completely changed. A real job prepared for him appeared. It was perfect timing from God, without any pressure or haste. The right relationships came. Financial blessings overflowed. The health problems that had plagued him for so long were healed overnight. Had he succumbed to every attempt the enemy made to steal during the first 40 days, all these blessings would have been blocked. But because he knew the playbook, he blocked every attack. And he told me this: the most important thing was not just knowing that an attack would come, but anticipating it. When the first attack came, I was not surprised but prepared. When the second attack came, I did not panic but counterattacked. Every single attack by the enemy actually proved that I was on the right track. For the enemy only attacks those who pose a threat to his kingdom. Joel 2:25 says, "The great army I sent against you before, the locusts, the neshe, and the grasshoppers, I will repay you according to the number of years you have eaten." And there is a pattern in the Bible. Joseph was robbed of 13 years of his life, but when Pharaoh exalted him, he received double the reward in a single day. Job lost everything for 1 season, but received double back. Israel was in captivity for 70 years, but returned with more than they left. The formula is this: the duration of the trial multiplied by 2 equals the size of the recovery. You have lost 90 days. You will now receive blessings compressed into 180 days' worth. Things that would have taken half a year to build will happen in a few weeks. This is not my promise. It is a pattern established by God throughout the entire Bible. The story of your experience is just one example among the thousands who have walked this path. You are special not because you are the only one going through this process, but because you are one of the few who have passed this trial. Most people give up at the 4th trial. But you made it through to the 13th trial. Most people do not survive the trial of despair. But you did it. Most people do not recognize the enemy's playbook. But you have just learned it. You are no longer falling behind. You are far ahead. Now, I will give you your mission. God did not have you pass the trial just to send you on vacation. There's a reason you passed. A mission will be given to you in your next season, and I am about to send you on that mission. This is Isaiah 6, verse 8. Then I heard the voice of the Lord saying, "Whom shall I send, and who shall go for us?" And I said, "Here I am, send me." Note when God asked this question. He asked it after Isaiah was cleansed, after the burning coals touched his lips, after his sins were forgiven, and after he passed the trial. God does not give a mission before the trial. He gives it after the trial is passed. Moses received his mission after encountering the burning bush. Paul received his mission after the road to Damascus. You have received a mission. The disciples received their mission after staying in their places until the very end, even when everyone else had turned away from Jesus. You are being sent out now because you have proven that you can handle what is to come. Your first mission is to be a witness. Your life is now a testimony in itself, whether you open your mouth or not. Those who have just entered the first month of the 90-day trial must look at you on the other side. What they need is not a sermon. They need proof that it is possible to survive this hellish time. Therefore, your mission is to be loudly present. Do not hide. Appear. Reveal the face of the world. Let them see that there is someone who has survived to the end. That is not pride, it is purpose. Your second mission is to manage your upgraded powers. Use the authority you have just opened within the next 7 days. Otherwise, you will fall asleep again. Find a mountain and command it out loud. Trust the spiritual discernment you have received. Do not ignore it when the warnings of your soul ring. Do not doubt when you feel God moving. Your upgraded powers are for you. It remains active only when in use. Your third mission is to guard your spiritual frequency. You are now vibrating on a different frequency. You have been operating on this frequency since passing the test, and some people may feel uncomfortable being near you. This is not because they are bad people, but because their frequencies are different. It is permitted for you to grow beyond people. It is not judgment or condemnation, it is frequency alignment. If someone does not match your new frequency, there is no need to force a relationship. Let them go with love. Your fourth mission is to anticipate spiritual warfare. Do not be shocked when the 7 forms of attack appear. Be prepared. When the first attack comes, you will recognize it instantly. When the second attack whispers, you will counterattack. When the third attack tries to distract you, you will move away. You are no longer a victim of spiritual warfare. You are a warrior on the battlefield. And a warrior does not run away from battle. They fight back with strategy. Your fifth mission. This is the most important. It is to remember. Next, when trials come, they will surely come. Remember that you have already passed 13 trials. Remember that when the next attack comes, you have already survived 90 days of hell. Remember that when the enemy tries to make you believe you have returned to square one, you have not. You are no longer fighting toward victory, but fighting in the place where you have already won. You have already won. Everything that happens from now on is simply walking within the victory you have already earned. Say this in your heart right now. I accept this mission. Do not speak aloud. Speak in the Spirit. I accept this mission to be a witness, to manage upgraded powers, to keep my frequency, to anticipate spiritual battles, and to remember my victory. Say it again. I accept this mission. Good. Heaven has just heard it. Your answer, yes, has been recorded. Now you cannot be asked. You have just made a covenant in God's presence. And God always respects a covenant made when He is listening. He is always listening. But it becomes active when you speak it aloud. Now, there is something you must understand. Everything I have just given you, the test results, the key, the enemy's playbook, the testimony, the mission, is, for now, nothing but knowledge. Unactivated knowledge is merely information. Knowledge without spiritual intent is nothing but theory. You must seal this. You must make it something for study so that the enemy cannot steal it again. That is what will happen next. We are now going to enter a special space, not one intended for those watching videos with a light heart. If you have come this far, it is because you were destined to receive what is to come. What I am about to do is not an ordinary prayer. This is a ritual of sealing and a protocol of activation. When this prayer ends, everything you have just learned will be locked for study, irreversible, and perfectly protected. Are you ready? Then prepare your heart. Find a space where you can receive. It is fine if you are driving. Lying down is perfect. If you are walking, keep walking. God meets you right where you are. However, you need your complete focus on what is about to happen. In your mind, create a room. Imagine this. It is not a physical room, but a spiritual room. Inside that room, there is a table. On that table lies a scroll with your name written on it. Inside that scroll are written everything we just discussed. Your test results, your unlocked blessings, your mission, everything. However, right now, that scroll is open and unsealed. This means the enemy can still raise issues with it, try to erase it, and insist that you did not truly pass the test. What we must do from now on is to seal that scroll, touch it, lock it, and make it a study. So when the enemy tries to make you forget that you passed after 90 days, you will have a sealed record proving that you did not. You will have a covenant that can never be broken when doubt tries to creep in again. Are you ready? In Exodus 3 verse 5, God speaks to Moses, "Take off your sandals, for the place where you are standing is holy ground." That it is holy in meaning, the Hebrew word kadoshi is distinguished. It means that the frequency is different. And there is an important point. That land did not become holy because the soil itself was special. It became holy because God's presence arrived. When God appears, an ordinary space becomes a holy space. At this very moment, wherever you are, that space is changing. You may or may not feel it. But whether you feel it or not, the spiritual current is shifting. Angels are gathering. The very angels who ministered to Jesus after he underwent the 40-day temptation are now in your space. This is not an ordinary moment. This is the moment a sign is being imprinted. Heaven is recording this moment. Now, if possible, please adjust your posture. If you are sitting, straighten your back a little more. It is okay to lie down. Just be conscious of your body. If you are standing, feel that both feet are firmly on the ground. This is not a physical performance. It is inner preparation. From now on, you are about to receive something that will completely change your life for the next 90 days. It is. Your body must know this as well. Place your awareness on your chest. Do not place your hands on it. Simply focus your attention. Feel your heart beating. That rhythm will now synchronize with the rhythm of heaven. In the next few minutes, you will feel a change. It could be warmth or peace. It could be a deep realization arising within, without feeling anything physically. All of these are valid. Whether your body perceives it or not, a change is taking place. This is not a prayer before bed, nor is it a mealtime prayer. This is a ritual of activation. The words I am about to proclaim upon you will seal the past 90 days and open the next 90 days. Every word I utter carries weight in the spiritual realm. Every word I proclaim is being recorded in the archives of heaven. And when this is over, you will never be the same person you were when you first heard this video. Are you ready? In the name of Jesus Christ, who was tempted in the wilderness for 40 days and passed all those trials perfectly, I do. You who have overcome the trials of isolation, delay, betrayal, and despair, you stand in this place now, relying on the authority of the one who has opened authority, discernment, and the guard of God, and who has broken every attack of the enemy. By the power of the precious blood shed on the cross, by the power of the resurrection, and by the authority of that name above all names, I declare to the spiritual currents surrounding you now. O chosen one, heaven has just opened. This is not a poetic expression. It is not a metaphor. The portal to heaven has been activated. The door that was closed for the past 90 days has been thrown wide open. The angels who guarded and protected you while you were being tested have just received approval to move for you. The Holy Spirit who held you up when you were falling is now pouring out power so that you can walk within the things you have unlocked. This is not an ordinary moment. It is a moment of fusion where time and soul meet. God the Father, the Lord, is watching this person. You are watching this person wherever they are right now. The cell phone in their hand, the screen in front of their eyes, the room they are in, the car they are driving, lying down. He is looking at the bed. The Lord is watching this person. And even more important than that is the fact that the Lord has been watching over them for the past 90 days without missing a single day. The Lord saw that night at 3 a.m. when they sat slumped on the bathroom floor, so miserably broken that they could no longer even shed tears. He watched the moment they checked their phones 47 times, waiting for a call that never came. The Lord was there when they stopped at the last moment, about to send that message that would ruin everything. He was counting the countless times they had to go without food, not because they were fasting, but because the suffocating anxiety and stress made it impossible to swallow. He heard their prayers whispered in the car before entering a certain building. That prayer saying, "God, if you do not help me, I cannot possibly make it." The Lord felt this person's heart being shattered into pieces by the person who turned away without any explanation or excuse, without a shred of remorse for the wounds he had inflicted. So that no one could hear, you saw the tears shed beneath Shauki, the only place they could come. You were with them when they gave someone $3 when they had only $4 left in their pockets, when they had to smile at work while their insides were dying, when they praised with a cracked voice, and when they said, "I am fine," to those asking if they were okay while they were drowning inside. You saw them keep moving forward, even though it would have been much easier to just sit back. You saw them endure even when hiding in bed seemed more logical than getting up, and when giving up their mission felt like mercy rather than surrender. Heavenly Father, the sobbing at 2 a.m., the panic attacks in the parking lot, the fake smiles they wore like armor, the promises they canceled because they could not pretend to be strong for even a single day longer, the countless prayers that seemed to hit the ceiling and bounce back, the hymns they could not finish singing because the lyrics were too painful, the Bible verses that seemed to be written for everyone but themselves. You saw all of it. I pay tribute not merely to what they endured, but to the past 90 days they survived. I respect those moments when they took those trials without even knowing there was a scoreboard, thinking they had failed, yet in reality, passing with perfect scores. I declare those days not wasted time, not punishment, not meaningless suffering, but days set apart as holy. They were holy days, specially designed and consecrated to qualify for the blessings the Lord will now pour out. And now, Heavenly Father, I seal everything they have just realized. I seal the 13 trials that fell upon this man's Trinity. I seal the trial of isolation with a perfect score, where he celebrated others even as his own heart was broken. I seal the trial of procrastination with a perfect score, where he continued to move forward even when no progress was visible. I seal the trial of betrayal with a perfect score, where he chose forgiveness instead of revenge. I seal the trial of spiritual suicide with extra points, where he stepped back instead of jumping off a cliff. I seal the trial of provision, where he chose faith instead of logic. I seal the trial of silence, where he did not stop praying even when the sky felt like concrete. I seal the test of identity, which spoke of being chosen to rise again from where nothing remained. I seal the test of dreams, which prayed even in sleep while trembling with fear. I seal the test of the unconscious, which made praise instead of worry its default mode. I seal the test of tolerance, which was bestowed secretly without an audience. All the tests, perfect scores, hell can never erase this report card. Doubt cannot refute this report card. This record is for research purposes. I seal the keys to the 5 blessings they have just received. The authority to command toward the mountains is now activated and sealed. The discernment to sense spiritual currents is activated and sealed. God's escort, doors that open without pushing, is activated and sealed. Accelerated timing, compressing years into weeks, is activated and sealed. Prophetic clarity, knowing the challenge of seeing first, is activated and sealed. These abilities are not theory. They are working at this very moment. I seal them so that they do not fall asleep, and so that the enemy cannot steal them again. An attack after 40 days, we seal these abilities so that they can still function perfectly when they come. We seal the enemy's playbook they have just discovered. When pressure to make urgent decisions arises, they will recognize it and delay for 72 hours. When past addictions tempt with nostalgia, they will declare aloud to break the spell. When confusion arises in relationships for no reason, they will avoid getting drawn into the fight and step aside. When false assurances contradicting what has already been said come, they will discern and reject them. When extreme fatigue strikes on the 21st day, they will break through it not through rest, but through worship. When the illusion of repeated isolation arises, they will move forward declaring that this is merely an echo. When the temptation of premature celebration comes, they will keep their mouths shut until they bear full fruit. Seal all forms of attack and all defenses within their spirits so that when that moment comes, they will never forget. We seal their 5 missions. The mission of witness. They are loud. They will exist so that others may see the appearance of the survivors. The mission to manage power. They will use their authority within 7 days. The mission to guard the frequency. They will grow beyond people without guilt. The mission to anticipate spiritual warfare. They will be prepared without being shocked. The mission to remember victory. They will not fight toward victory, but will fight in the place where they have already won. These missions are not suggestions or recommendations. They are activated commands given by the King of Kings. Because they have passed the test to bear this immense responsibility, they possess the authority to execute these commands. And now, Father, I bind the specific enemies targeting this person. I bind the spirit of recurring isolation. attempting to return under the pretext of a second round. You have been cast out of this person's domain. I have no access. I bind the spirit of false urgency attempting to pressure them for the next 7 days to make them make wrong decisions. You cannot hasten them. They now move according to God's timetable, not yours. The spirit of amnesia attempting to make them forget the fact that they passed the test. Bind the spirit. Bind the spirit of false syndrome that whispers, "You cannot erase the sacred record. This seal is for research purposes. You didn't actually pass." Bind the spirit of comparison that seeks to show those who appear to be ahead of them. Their ray is protected. Their speed is determined by God. You cannot make them run another's race. Bind the spirit of premature celebration that seeks to make them celebrate before the time is right. They will keep holy things holy until the Lord permits. Bind the spirit of delayed celebration that seeks to steal the joy they should be enjoying now. They have the right to rejoice today for the test they passed yesterday. Bind all attacks against their hearts. Bind all attacks against their bodies. Bind all conspiracies against finances. Bind all plans against human relationships. Bind all traps set against the calling. Completely block all devil strategies targeting this elect in the name of Jesus Christ. And now, I do not seek, nor wish, nor hope. I declare upon the life of this chosen one, I declare that within the next 7 days, you will see the first evidence that everything has changed. It may be an unexpected message, or it may be financial gains you never imagined. A door you thought was firmly welded shut may suddenly open, or you may receive an apple you had given up on. It may be a report of healing that transcends medical logic, or a sudden peace that seems out of place. But they will surely see it. That evidence will be undeniable. I declare that within the next 21 days, something they buried, thinking it was dead, will be resurrected. That dream they grieved over and gave up, that relationship they let go of, that opportunity they forsaken, that very thing they said goodbye to will return. Upgraded, lower and stronger than before. And when it appears, they will realize that this is not human recycling, but God's divine resurrection. I declare that within the next 40 days, they will be in a completely different reality. People will look at them and ask, "What on earth happened to you?" It is. That change is so overwhelming, complete, and undeniable that it cannot even be fully explained in words. I proclaim that the very people who watch them suffer will witness their recovery. Not for revenge, not to boast saying, "I told you so," but to serve as a testimony. Thus, they will clearly see that God still performs miracles, is the Lord of resurrection, and is the one who makes the impossible possible. I proclaim that their next 90 days will be the exact opposite of the past 90 days. Double blessings will come where they were lost. Clear direction will be given where they were silent. Divine encounters will come where they were lonely. Overflowing abundance will come where there was scarcity. It will not happen gradually someday, but will happen suddenly. God, who can close everything in 90 days, is also the one who can open everything in 90 days. And He will now prove it. I proclaim that they will not waste this victory. This upgrade will not be granted. Authority will not be abused. All keys will be managed with wisdom. All gifts will be used with purpose. They will walk within this new frequency humbly yet powerfully. I proclaim a breakthrough in their finances. Supply from where no work was done, finances from where support was not provided. Debts will be abolished, needs met, and overflowing blessings will be proclaimed. I proclaim a breakthrough in relationships. Reconciliation where there was division, connection where there was isolation. Love where there was betrayal, peace where there was confusion. I proclaim a breakthrough in health. What doctors deemed research-oriented will be overturned. What medicine could not cure will be healed. Places unreached by treatment will be restored. Their bodies will be aligned according to heaven's original design. I proclaim a breakthrough in their calling. Clarity where there was confusion, doors where there were walls, escorts where there was rejection, and promotion where there was delay. And I declare that all the words I have just proclaimed have been activated, not tomorrow, not next week, but this very moment. Whether they felt it or not, the current has already changed. The seal is finished. Whether seen or not, heaven has moved. Whether you believe it or not, it is over. It is complete. It is sealed. Now, chosen one, answer aloud. If you cannot speak aloud, answer in your heart with the same power as shouting. Will you bear this? Will you walk as one who has passed the test? Will you refuse to return to the person you were 91 days ago? Will you take good care of what you have just unlocked? Will you use the authority you have just received? Will you look forward to the breakthrough I have just proclaimed? Answer yes, whether in your heart or with your voice. Answer now. I have heard. Heaven has heard your answer as well. The angels in your space right now have just witnessed your presence. It is sealed. It is recorded. It is for research. You cannot reverse it. Your lips have just made a covenant. God always keeps the covenant you made in His presence. And He is always there. But when you spoke aloud, you activated it. You have just activated everything we saw in this video. It is finished. You have been exempted from the 90-day trial. You have been freed from the season of disguised suffering. You are being sent to your next mission field as one who passed the test with a perfect score, not as someone who is trying to pass, but as someone who has already passed. You no longer need to prove that you are the chosen one. Your report card proves it. You have been granted the authority to walk differently, speak differently, and decide differently. You are never the same person you were when you first played this video. You are a completely different person from the one who started the 90 days. The past version of yourself entering the trial has now vanished. The version of you emerging from the trial has been upgraded, promoted, and sent out. The current has changed. Whether you felt it or not, the seal has ended. Whether you saw it or not, heaven has moved. Whether you believe it or not now, do not say amen yet. Do not end this moment yet. Remain in silence for 15 seconds. Let this fact seep deep into you. You have passed. You really have passed. With perfect scores on all 13 tests. Now say amen. But when you speak, do not whisper. Do not mumble. Shout it out like a shout of victory. Speak as if you have just won. Speak with all your heart. Whether you speak out loud or shout it in your heart, proclaim it with all your might.